Hey, HandyMouse1 here, and I have a problem. I have all of these polymer clay charms just floating around on my shelf, and I have nowhere to put them. And I think this is a problem that I need to rectify. So I'm going to be making a DIY set of drawers to go on my shelf. And I'm going to start with this small cereal box. Any cardboard box will be fine for this. This, as long as, based on the size you want each drawer to be, this will be one of the drawers. I'm just going to be using one of the boxes from a multi-pack of cereal, where the ones we have 8 different boxes and they're all different flavors. Yeah, one of those. And I'm going to be using a different box for each of the drawers. So I'm just going to cut off the top, because you need to be able to put the stuff into the drawer, and the part of the box that's missing I'm going to replace with a part from the top to save on cardboard. It makes sense. So now I'm just going to glue down these flaps just by finger painting on some glue and holding them down. I don't know what it is with me and finger painting with glue. It's not pleasant. It makes everything 10 times harder because everything gets sticky. Use a paintbrush. Just saying. And once I've stuck everything down I want it, I'm going to be using just scraps of torn paper just to seal everything together and doing more finger painting, evidently. But I'm just going to use it to any seams or points where the cardboard and all the different layers of cardboard are not 100% seamless. I'm just going to cover over with pieces of paper to make a smoother transition between the two. And I'm just going to go over and over using tiny scraps of paper, starting with the edges around the end of the box that I glued on. So the end of the box that I had to stick it on, I'm going to go around the edge and just shore up that seam. And it helps make it feel more like one thing, like it was meant to be, rather than it being multiple different pieces of cardboard glued together. And I'm doing this on all the sides of the box and just going all the way around. And I did forget to do the step on some of the other boxes, so you can still see the seam on some of them, but it's okay. I will say the ones I did this on do look neater, but it's okay. It's okay. I will say I am going for functionality over appearance on this one. I want it to be cute because I want it to fit in on my shelf, but the main objective is it has to be able to hold the things that I want it to hold, namely the charms I showed you earlier. And it just needs to fit in, and I'm just trying to make something useful here. So I'm just going to continue going with all these scraps of paper. This is why gluing your fingers is a bad idea, because suddenly your fingers start sticking to everything and start pulling out the pieces you've already done. Yeah, use a paintbrush, it's easier. Considerably easier. And I just keep going all the way around. And I do it on both ends of the box. It's more important on the other end where I've glued on, but this end also has some pretty messy seams from it, just where the way the box is assembled. And yeah, I also want to do this line down the middle of the box, which is a bit of a messy seam there. So I'm just going to go over that one with more pieces of paper just to help balance that out. And I'm also going to get some glue onto some more for the insides of the box. Going to cover over where that gap is, which you use to open the box normally. We don't need that anymore. So yeah, because as you can see I cut it out of the top one. Apparently I lost the footage of that or something. But yeah. So now I'm going to take some pink paint. I want all these drawers to be very pastel colours. So I'm going to mix it in with some PVA glue to help it adhere to the very shiny surface of the cardboard, which doesn't like paint to adhere to it very well if there's not part glue. You could also prime it. That would also work if you have a paint primer. Maybe slap a coat of that on there first, and then you could just use the ordinary paint. I don't actually know why I was waving my hand like that. I was probably just using it to make sure the paintbrush was not too crunchy from being in glue previously and all that. So I'm just going to put on a coat of this pale pink colour, this candy floss pink. And as you can see, it's very transparent, so it will need multiple coats. So just building that up slowly and just trying to make it look nice and even and cover up the bright colours underneath. Another reason you might want to prime it is that these boxes that I'm using are very cartoony and bright underneath. And obviously the brighter the colours are, the harder it is to go over them, especially if you're using a very light colour. Yeah, I just go over this over all the sides and just try and keep going and make a nice even coat of this. Yeah, I was just trying to make something which would look cute but also fairly simple. I wanted to go for a very simple design with this project because I didn't want to make anything too bold because I have to look at it all the time, and I don't want to make something which is too much and then it looks out of place on the shelf. So yeah, like I said, building up multiple coats, multiple layers to try and make it as big as possible, and this is eventually what it comes out looking like. I think that's pretty cute. So I take another one and I do the same process on it. This time it's a Cocoa Pops box. I mix up a nice purple colour in with the mix that purple, which I thought was a bit dark, so I lightened it with some white paint. And I'll also mix that with some PVA glue once I've mixed it all together. Yeah. I didn't have a light enough purple and I wanted to do a purple one, so yeah, I just mixed it up with some white to make it a nice pastel version of the colour. I'm sorry for the camera shaking so much, but whatever. Yeah. So I wanted to make colours which were all on the same sort of palette, which is why I did all pastel colours. And yeah, I realised I was doing this and I realised the paint wasn't adhering very well and that I needed to add some PVA to this at some point, but yeah, here we go. I realised that I needed to add PVA to it. So I just mix that in and it makes it a bit thicker and it just helps it stick to the shininess of the box better. It's not a strictly necessary step, so if you don't have a thing of PVA glue, that's fine, you don't have to use it. It just, I find, helps, stops it from coming off too easily and just helps the paint stick. And I do the same process that I did on the other box, and I just give everything a quick coat of purple, all the sides, cover up the lettering and all that. And I just try and make everything even. Yeah, you can see where I forgot to do the seams in some places, but whatever. I make it work in the end. So yeah, I just keep going over and over, trying to make everything as neat as possible. And now I do one, I'm mixing up a nice light orange colour. So I'm just mixing this tan colour with a bit of orange to brighten it a bit. And I'm just gonna mix these together into a nice tan colour, which I thought would be really cute, but because I want it to be brighter than the pale yellowy colour that I had, I wanted to be closer to orange, and I just thought that the orange would be too dark. I wanted to keep them all on the same profile of colours. So yeah, I just mix these together until I get the colour nice and consistent. That is the colour that I want. So again, I bring in the PVA glue to mix that in to this, and I just mix all this together so we can nice thick paint. And this time I'm using a cornflakes box. Yeah, these miniature boxes are really useful for this sort of thing because the cardboard isn't too thick, but it is solid enough that you can put stuff inside, and they're good sizes, and they already have the right shape that I'm looking for, so we save some time on putting together entirely new boxes. So yeah, using these was just a bit of a time saver. I put on a coat of this, and I also do one of the final box in blue. If you can hear that, I'm sorry. I think my mum's shredding paper or something upstairs, but I don't even know if you can hear that. But so yeah, just ignore. So I'm gonna mix this nice toothpaste blue colour together. I think like a nice teal green maybe. I don't know. I've never been able to identify what colour's what. It's always frustrated me when you go into like a paint shop and they're like, would you rather have diamond white, off-white, creamy white? Looks like they all look exactly the same to me, mate, so just give me any of them. Yeah, so I just slap on a coat of that over the whole thing, and while they're drying, sorry, I'm going to be assembling the part that they are going to sit inside of, so like the case for the drawers. So making sure that this piece is big enough that everyone could fit on, I tidy up the edges with just a pair of scissors, obviously. Just cut it down to size. And just cut along here likewise. And I have to make all the pieces for the sides and the shelf. So for the other shelves and the top, I just match up the size to another piece of cardboard, and cut along there in much the same way, just like trim around the edges so that they're both the same size. Now I just cut along the edges of another one, and now I have 3 of the same size pieces of card. Now I'm making the back plate piece, and I know it has to be the same width as the base of the base. So I need to just cut along this side to get the width correct for the back plate, and then I just make sure that's all in order, and then I basically assemble a rough idea of what it will look like and just draw it along to work out what how tall it needs to be. So yeah, I now have the back plate, a wall, and 2 shelves. Or back plate, the 2 walls and a shelf. Wrong number of things. So now I work on the sides by just matching it up to the other pieces and just making it so it all fits together. And now I start assembling it by doing a layer of glue. And I'm actually using a paintbrush to glue the pieces together for once. Wow, what a shocker. So I use paper just to shore up the seam, and then I prop it up against a thing of paint. I do the same on the other side. And once this is all connected, I then put in the base in the way which I think will make it neatest in the end. So I just do that. Got a cup of tea there. Very me. Always have a cup of tea to hand. And I just stick that in. And I just shore up the seams around the edges on the outside where it was a bit weak before. I just redo the seam on the outside of the piece. And using the boxes I've got as a guide, I then insert the shelf piece and glue that one on and shore up the seams as much as possible to make it nice and secure. And I just glue on some for the inside. Just try and make it as strong as possible, because obviously this shelf is going to have to bear a bit of weight, because if I put stuff in the drawers are going to get heavier and yada yada yada. So I also do a top piece, make sure that's on nice and securely, and that is basically all I needed for the structure. For the design of this, I'm going to take these pieces of coloured card stuff that I've had lying around for years now. Just going to cut it into pieces that I can then use by cutting it into little shapes, pretty just random shapes, and I'm just going to cut along these seams and just make random quadrilaterals that I can then just collage onto the piece. I think it ends up coming out really cute, so yeah. I just sorry. I just glue on these little pieces by just putting on some PVA, and then I just glue on the pieces. I was trying to make it so that they wouldn't be next to another one of the same type, but apart from that, I really had no consideration for where they were going. It was pretty random and just gluing where I thought they would look good. Here I'm gluing onto the box. After a while I find it easier just to glue straight onto the pieces, because obviously where they're overlapping it is less sticky. So yeah, after a while I find it's easier just to glue the pieces of cardboard themselves, the cards themselves, rather than the base I'm gluing them onto. But yeah, I just keep going and try and make it look random, but also have a nice degree of variation to it all the way around. And I just glue them on in places that I think they all look nice and cute and cool. I think it comes out looking really good, so I'm happy with this. What's going on my computer screen? I don't know. Also, I'm pretty bad of camera. There we go. Go back on camera. There's the ticket. So I just glue these on, and I think it looks really cute. So yeah. I do have a lot of these pattern cards, but the other designs are all a bit too busy. I wanted ones which were relatively simple looking. I have some which have pictures of birds on them and stuff, but I wanted this to look pretty simple, even if it is going to be a collage thing, because the collage itself is going to look quite busy. I didn't want each individual piece of paper to look really busy as well, because that would have been a bit too much, I think. So I just keep going all the way around, and I just try and make it look as controlled chaos as possible, was what I was going for here. Controlled chaos. Go all the way around the edges. And yeah, it's a bit out of focus, sorry. This was such a big object and my camera was too low. So yeah, I just keep going, positioning each of the pieces, and sometimes I'll do one a bit further away and then go back so that it's a bit more random which ones are on top. If you started at one end and worked all the way down consistently, then you'd have it so all of the ones on top would be at one end and then all the ones underneath would be another end. That doesn't look as good as if it's a bit more random and the ones are on top are all over the place. That was what I was going for, and I think it does come out in the end. So yeah, don't know why my throat is so scratchy today. Haven't been talking much this week. Exams, sitting around for 2 hours in silence. Yeah, so talking for a while now is kind of taking out my voice a bit. So yeah, I just keep going with this process. This is a really relaxing process. I was almost not really realizing how much time was passing when I was doing this. It was just kind of like a process where you could just wind down and not even realize that you're doing it almost, and just keep going, keep going, keep going, keep going, until your brain just switches off. It's great. So I just keep working on with it and just putting the pieces, folding them over the edge to make a nice even seam, spreading glue over it to keep the corners down and stuff. Yeah, just went over and over again and trying, if there was an area which was completely pink for an area, then I'd try and put one of the ones with the more colourful polka dots on it. Or if there was one which didn't have the stripes in a while, I'd try and incorporate that into it, because there are those ones which are different from the others, and it does add a pop to it to have those. I do the same design on the inside of the drawers, just to kind of make it match up. But I use smaller pieces of paper because it's a smaller surface, and if I use the same size of pieces of paper, it would take 3 to cover one side of it. And I just wanted it to be a bit more varied there. So I just went over around the edges, started at the top and worked inwards for these ones, just so I could ensure that it had a nice even seam along the edge, the top edge, because I couldn't fold it over the edges without it covering up the paint job I did earlier. So I just worked all the way around and try to just make sure that there were no two same ones matching for the most part. I just worked all the way down on each side, just working further and further down until I get the look that I'm going for here. And I just like kind of just let my mind switch off and worked all the way around. Like, this process took like hours. It's a slow process, but it's enjoyable. So yeah, just keep repeating it over and over again. Like, just gluing the pieces together and trying to make a nice collage look. Like, I try not to have too many straight lines, so like if there's one in one position, I'll try and have the other one a bit higher, a bit lower, to make it so the lines are a bit more mismatched. Yeah, there's a bit of thought put into the placement for something which does look so random in the end. So, which is kind of what I was going for. Like I said, organised chaos. I like that. So, sorry. Again, my voice is just not having it today. I don't know why. I haven't had a sore throat like at all recently. But today it's just like, no. So this is what it looks like in the end. So yeah, I'm going to now Mod Podge everything. The inside of the boxes, the outside of the boxes. The inside is especially important because where the paper's glued down, the edges are liable to come up. So yeah, I just go over the entire thing with a nice thick coat of Mod Podge, and it makes it a nice clear, like it dries clear, so it looks really nice in the end, and it gives everything a nice texture. So yeah, this was a super important step. So yeah, I just go across the entire thing and make it look good, I guess. It makes it feel more professional, something which is a very DIY style thing. It does help tie it together a bit. I do the same on the main box itself. I just do every side with a nice layer of Mod Podge. You might notice I didn't go all the way back with the paper mache on the shelf levels because like you won't be able to see that, and it was such a lot to have to reach back in with the paintbrush and glue them down or whatever. But this is what it looks like in the end. I think this is cute. It's functional, it's great, it's what I had in mind. I'm happy with this. So yeah, thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video. Follow me on Instagram at HannahMouseCrafts. See you next time. Bye.